So far, so good. So let's jump into one of the topics we talked about, which was the economy. What affects mostly everyone in the United States of America today is how the economy is going. To give a little background, the way I view the economy, because everybody has different opinions. You have economists across the industry that talk through what they think is happening, what they think will happen, what their forecasts are. But I think some background. The economy was very cyclical for a long time, where you could see a very steady 7-year economic cycle where you would see sort of a downturn or a recession, once every 7 to 10 years. 2008 to 2010, what we call, the Great Downturn, really affected everything, where we haven't really seen that cycle come to fruition over the last 17 years. It's been kind of, slightly up and down, almost like a heartbeat, and not really like those steep peaks and valleys. Take away COVID, which, nobody can really account for that from a forecast perspective, a pandemic, something of that nature, which did have many, many impacts, which I'll talk about here in a second. Other than that, post 2010, it is really just kind of not really cyclical like it used to be. It's really kind of been hard to predict as well as it has been. And you have a lot of people who kind of struggle with that. They try to use the historical triggers and the historical trends to kind of predict what's going to happen down the road, and things really haven't come to fruition. Let's go back to last year at the end of 2024. The Fed decided to drop interest rates by 50 basis points. Typically, when you see that interest rate drop, it's in a state where the economy is going in a certain direction. You see other rates kind of aligned to it. The U.S. Treasury rate, the 10-year U.S. Treasury rate, jumped up 75 basis points, which really is atypical, because you really like to see a rate drop in the interest rates when the Fed lowers them, a subsequent lowering in those yields. On the flip side, the mortgage rates. Instead of mortgage rates dropping, mortgage rates actually went up 79 basis points, during that same time when we dropped interest rates 50 basis points. So the question will go, and I'm not going to take one side of the argument or the other, but the argument was that 50 basis point drop simply for political purposes and not the right time? Usually when you're dropping interest rates, there's lots of things you're trying to accomplish with it. Just like raising interest rates, the goal is to make money more expensive to borrow, and typically lowers a lot of the ability for smaller companies to borrow money, and in turn really increases unemployment rates. On the flip side, you're trying to lower rates, make the cost to do lower, so that way you can have more, hire more, and you see more people coming in and lowering the unemployment rate. And really, we haven't seen that align here in the last few rate drops. We just saw the Fed approve a 25 basis point rate drop. We are starting to see mortgage rates slightly lower. Where they're going, I think, is slow. I don't think you're going to see anything really come to fruition for another couple months. I think the Fed's already said 7 of the 12 directors have said they believe 2 more 25 basis point drops will be in effect between now and the end of 2025. I know in this last one, 11 of the 12 voted for the 25 basis point drop. The newest one that was just appointed voted for a 50 basis point drop, which I think most people were hoping for. The markets reacted well, a little bit of a stagnation there in the beginning of the announcement, but it did end up being up the day they announced it. I think mortgage rates will lag a little bit, with the concern at the end of the month in September 30th if there's going to be a shutdown of the government. I know the minority leader has indicated that without rollback on some of the Medicare programs, they're going to hold out, and there's a risk of the shutdown. So I think some of the impacts that we're hoping to see are going to be delayed. But mortgage rates will definitely be affected at some rate, but they are slow. We are seeing them lower. Taking a look this morning, I saw some rates on 30-year loans down to 6%. I saw some 15-year rates down in the 5% range, in the 5.5% range. So you are starting to see that come through. So we're hoping that sees more and more. There are a lot of people who have mortgages here in the last couple of years since 2022 who are looking to refi. A lot of people went into the 5/1 ARM loans or the 5/6 ARM loans, the adjustable rate mortgages, banking that when their ARM switches, the rates will be lower than they were when they took the loan. So they're really hoping here in the next year or so that rates are going to come down substantially. So I think a lot of the economy is riding on that. When you go back to 2008, the economy really tanked because of the housing market. You really saw a lot of struggling there, which had a lot of ramifications that really made a very, very severe recession. And then, you do see, on the flip side, COVID. COVID happened in 2020, and the economy really, for the first time in memory that I can see in the data, really fostered two separate economies. You would look at really the lower third of the income brackets really forced into a recession almost, where they received the stimulus, but most of that was spent. The upper third really took that stimulus. A lot of them are entrepreneurs. They received personal stimulus as well as small business stimulus, and you saw a tremendous amount of wealth buildup. A lot of those people did not use that money to stimulate the economy. They used it to pay down debt. They used it for savings. They were smart about their approach, where a lot of the lower income families really used it to spend, purchase, make their lives better than they were. And unfortunately, when things start to happen, inflation, fast forward to 21, 22, 23, that separation of the two upper end and lower end started to push further and further apart, because a lot of the upper end and middle part, even the middle section, that middle third, were able to really stem the inflation. They were able to absorb it. They were able to still live their lives day to day like they were used to. The upper end really stimulated by spending even more than they had in the past, because they were set up very well from a savings and a personal debt perspective, where the bottom end started to see increases in groceries, increases in everyday goods, and their income really didn't change. And on top of that, the stimulus didn't really go to pay down debt. They still had their same debt, still had their same savings account, so they didn't really have anything to back into. So you really saw that difference in the economies, which happens today. And I think a lot of economists struggle with being able to predict where the overall U.S. economy is going because of the changes during 2020 and 2021. You also have a lot of talk about the tariffs, what's happening with the tariffs. You see a lot of things there getting a little bit more expensive. You see some things that haven't changed, and a lot of the big players absorbing those costs. But there is a lot of tentativeness in the economy and economists on, is it just waiting and it's going to happen soon? So you are going to see a lot of slowness of recovery, slowness of impacts of rate drops, just because there's all this inability for everyone to get on the same page. And unfortunately, you always have two sides of the coin, and people have different opinions. Usually you can come to a agreement somewhere in the middle, and it's been very tough over the last 3 years when it comes to the economy. Talking about the fun stuff, things such as cars have, started to be, you hear BMW and some other, the larger international manufacturers saying they're going to eat some of the cost from the tariffs if they're bringing in parts, especially. BMW's opened up a lot of factories in the U.S. To build the cars, which help them really avoid the tariffs, but a lot of the parts still come in through that function. Watches, especially big name brands, whether you're talking about Rolex, Omega, Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, they're all Switzerland, shipped watches. So tariffs are coming. I'm a big watch guy, love my watches. I've already talked to my authorized dealer that is Watches of Switzerland in Marlton, New Jersey. Shout out to Mitch out there who takes care of me all the time. I just got off the phone with him. Usually every year, on occasion, if we're having a good year from the business perspective, I always like to get a nice new watch once a year, and it's usually around Christmas time. An excuse when I go to shop for the wife to say I might as well get something for myself. So hopefully the wife doesn't watch this, which I'm sure she will, so she'll yell at me. But I ended up doing it earlier this year because, middle of October, all of those players are increasing their prices because of the tariffs. So getting in early is a big one. So trying to get in there early and knowing when things are going, reading the room, reading the environment, especially when you're talking about luxury goods, whether it's, international cars, like big price ticket cars of, six figures and above, or watches. When you're talking about watches in that 10,000 and above range, the tariffs are going to have somewhat of an effect on certain things here or there, and you just have to know where to look and where to go. So doing your research and understanding it. But bottom line on the mortgage side, I really view a lot of the people who need to refi and want to refi for those higher rate mortgages they booked in 2022, 2023, even in 24. I really view the rates aren't going to get to where they want it to be, which means 30-year loans back down in that 4 to 5% range. I would be, remiss if I said I think they're for sure going to happen next year. But I would say earliest would be sometime next year, maybe 2027. Again, a lot of uncertainty. I think it's going to depend on what Congress does with shutting down the government at the end of this month. If they can come to a bipartisan agreement to budget the government, I think we'll be in a much better shape for the future. But it's something you got to keep an eye on. So those are kind of my opinions. Again, strictly my opinions, so take them as they're worth. But I've been doing it long enough. I've been through many, many economic cycles, starting in banking in 1995, really, 1997 full time. Being through 4 or 5 different economic cycles, it's kind of understanding, and what you will hear from me a lot is understanding the art and the science. Anybody can get a set of data and do a forecast and an analysis. It's understanding how that applies to the real world. It's also a trick with marketing. You see a marketing of a different product online that's telling you, this is what's going to happen. This is how things are rolling. This is what the data is telling you. As a longtime data person, I can make the data tell me whatever I want it to tell. It's just how I structure the data, from what perspective I'm grabbing the data from, and it's really understanding how to blend the art with the science, and not just trusting the data as is. If someone gives you data, doesn't mean it's wrong, but it's all based on perception. It's all based on where the data is coming from. What's it include? What's it exclude? Where it's going? And again, that funnels into the economy as well. What's the data saying? Where is the data coming from? Is it all the U.S.? Is it only urban populations? Is it rural? Is it in certain aspects of the country? Is it in big cities? You see a lot of data coming from big cities: New York, L.A., Miami. Unfortunately, it's a little bit biased because it is a lower income a lot of times and higher income blended together. And you want to get more of that distribution of understanding the data. So make sure you do your research, make sure you understand it. Post in the comments if you have specific economic questions I can answer, or we can deep dive into and talk about further. But I think it'll be a fun time for everybody as we get into more topics. But make sure you post in there questions and topics you want to hear about. So we're looking forward to it. So one of the funnest things I get to do is, like I said, the watch side of it. I'm going to hopefully be able to get us into Watches of Switzerland when I go to pick up the new watch. Take a look at it so you can kind of take a look. It'll be fun. It's my first purchase from the company Jacob & Co. I think it'll be pretty cool. It's in their Epic X line. It's their white ceramic with a blue dial. But the great thing is Mitch, like I said, at Watches of Switzerland, is somebody you really should check out. If you don't, again, Marlton, New Jersey. But one of the things is he takes care of me all the time. In starting this podcast, I had a lot of people kind of jump in with me to kind of push me this way. One of my business partners keeps saying I should do it, I should do it, I should do it. Some other people have kind of given me. But finally, I was able to partner with Poniac Productions, Devin on that side, who's a great guy, and he actually finally pushed me over the edge to get off my ass and do stuff. So when I talked to Mitch, he was able to kind of hook me up on the side with something else. So I want to get something for Devin that actually gave me for Devin something that I think he'll like. It'll be a pretty cool thing for him to get. As we go through this journey together. So he's my partner in this way, and it'll be a lot of hard work on both our sides. So I want to thank Devin, and this will be from him, and we'll see. Maybe we'll do an opening too, in the episode. So looking forward to the journey.
I can't remember the last time I've ever been so surprised. All right.
All right, people, here we go. The big reveal. A little unboxing for the first episode. Should be fun. I didn't wrap it, by the way. Mitch wrapped it for me.
I'm excited. I can say I can't remember the last time I was this surprised with something.
By the way, this is Devin. He's the one that makes everything look good.
Oof. Hamilton. Oh. All right. Oh, man. A box inside a box.
Hopefully you didn't put another box in there.
Oh, wow.
I know you said you like the strap.
Yeah, I love the brown strap.
Yeah, I was going back and forth between the one with the date and the one without the date, but I figured the date one would be good.
Yeah.
Devin and I talked a lot about watches, and Hamilton was one that he really wanted. He has one specific to pick out, but I think that should be the one he gets to buy himself when he's ready. But this one is not as nice as the one he wants, but I think it's a pretty good one and fits kind of, call it 4 out of the 5 check marks that he likes. So, and I love watches. Watches are a big fun thing for me. You'll hear a lot of people say watches aren't investments, but some of them can be. But it's really the meaning of what they mean to you can be a good investment for yourself. Maybe not monetarily, but for the long term, it's something that gives back to you over time.
This is unbelievable, dude.
Yeah, brother.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So Hamilton. Hamilton watches are great. They've been around forever. Actually, I have a Hamilton watch that was my grandfather's that's back from the 1930s. It's a really great piece. You see a lot of people who really want to step up from, Casio or Timex or Invicta or a lot of those that are really nice watches, but they want to get to that next level. So really, Hamilton's a great one. It's an automatic. It has a date function, as you can see, at the 3 o'clock mark. And it is just a 24-hour, marker around the inside of the dial. Clean, very good. This could be a dress watch or it could be, an everyday watch. The brown strap. Devin and I have talked about it a lot. So, I have a rubber strap on mine. I tend to like the straps more so for everyday use because, the what they call the bracelets, the metal bands, sometimes, tend to get a little bit sweaty, a lot more sweaty throughout the day and become, you go like this and they start to kind of swish. With these, you can kind of set where you want them, and it's real sturdy. Leather band, it'll last forever. And Hamilton's one of those that is Swiss made. It'll be around for a long time, and it's tested and it's respected in the industry. So it'll be a fun one for him. So looking forward to seeing it on his wrist.
Too cool, man.
Yeah, brother.
Too cool. Wow. Hamilton is like the most, the watch that's been used the most in any movies across time.
A lot of them,
that?
yeah.